Hello there, this is Oscar Mike here, bringing you this Europa Universalis 4 guide. Today we're going to be looking at the Byzantium start and how to beat the Ottomans and restore all your Byzantine cores. This is taking place in Ironman and patch 1.9.2. If you enjoyed this guide, be sure to check out my last video, Winning the 100 Years' Wars England and Ironman. I'm Oscar Mike and I hope you enjoy watching. Okay, as with any guide, let's talk about our starting conditions. I'll run through this fairly quick. First we're going to check Austria has rivaled Venice, because we're going to need that to form an alliance with Austria later on. We're going to check we have access to a diplomatic reputation advisor, but we're not going to hire them just yet. We're going to hire an infantry unit and a cavalry unit from Constantinople, pick our mission, improve prestige, hire our heir and leaders, generals, and immediately start galley production. And we're going to aim for about 25 galleys, although you can opt for more or less depending upon how this guide works with you. Then we're going to start improving relations with Austria and Poland. And once we've done that, rival Genoa and Venice. And then we're going to start the clock. So let me talk about all the moves we just did there. We need to rival Venice because we need Austria to rival Venice. And if they do, we take advantage of a diplomatic modifier that's going to allow us to sign a royal marriage and alliance with Austria later on. Couple that with the fact that we're going to have a royal marriage with Poland and an alliance with Poland. That should prevent the Ottomans from attacking us. It doesn't always work that way. It may not work that way for you, but for the most part it works in the guide, and that's what's going to allow us to win. We're of course going to declare war on the Ottomans on our own later on, but for the meantime we need Austria and Poland as sort of big brothers to protect us from a preemptive strike from the Ottomans. So we're going to start transferring our troops we just recruited from Constantinople to the south of Greece. Part of the reason why we do that is if the Ottomans do declare war on us, we don't want our troops sitting idly in Constantinople because they'll be massacred to a man. So the purpose of the diplomatic reputation advisor, it's just one of those things we need to have a royal marriage with Austria and then an alliance. If we don't have a diplomatic reputation advisor and we don't have Austria rival Venice, then that will be blocked to us and we won't be able to forge that alliance. And we do need Austria in the event that we get attacked. So I've been doing Byzantine starts for a while. I played these starts way back in EU3 and the strategy hasn't really evolved that much. It's kind of a brute force strategy. It's not necessarily elegant, but it works. We cannot possibly hope to compete with the Ottomans on land, and there's an unfortunate comet-sided event. We're going to pick the economy rules to reference Bill Clinton, and then we're going to get back to discussing how this guide works. So we can't compete with the Ottomans on land, but we can compete with them navally by building galleys, lots and lots of galleys, and we're going to need about 25. We're not going to disband our barks and our transport ships because that's too expensive. We can't afford to do that. We don't have the time. We're just going to build galleys and add to our existing fleet, and the hope is we'll be able to establish naval superiority in the Bosphorus Strait that will allow us to win. Now, in order for this strategy to work, you're going to have to hire out a lot of loans. I tend to find you need about 15 loans. That's even before you declare war on the Ottomans, but that's no problem at all. And right now you can see we're just improving our relations with Austria and Poland, and in a moment we're going to start the sequence of events that allows us to forge an alliance with both of their parties. Maintenance, of course, has been set to 0. Naval maintenance and military maintenance. We're going to need as much cash as possible, so we can't afford any unnecessary expenses in the opening phase of this guide. And we're going to start taking a lot of loans. There you can see I just had the diplomatic reputation advisor. We're locked out of a royal marriage yet. That's because we need to boost our relations just a tiny bit more. We can, however, royal marriage Poland, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Royal marriage being a precursor to alliance in both cases. Still not quite the stage where we can royal marriage Austria, but we'll get there soon. And in a moment I'm going to talk about the in-depth strategy, because as with this guide, it's not some set piece engagement that you can do and win every time. You still have to be fully aware of your senses. You still have to make military decisions and tactical moves in order to win. So we have a royal marriage with Poland. I'm going to check to see if we can finally royal marriage Austria. we can. So we're going to do that. We want to do this quickly because we have a diplomatic reputation advice at the moment. That's costing us 1 gold per month. And we're going to get rid of that, okay? So we signed the alliance with Austria. Now, we can breathe a sigh of relief now because we've exited the window when the Ottomans could have launched a preemptive attack against us, and that would be very bad. In fact, almost impossible to win at that point if you don't have Austria and Poland as an alliance. But now we can breathe a bit easily. We're still building our galley fleets. We're going to need lots of galleys, and we're going to need to use those galleys extremely well. We're not going to be able to afford to lose naval battles. We don't care quite as much about our army. I'll explain why that is in a minute, but for the moment we're just taking out more loans, building up a massive fort well over our naval force limit modifier so that we can conquer the Greek lands, which is our ultimate goal. So, as with this strategy, it doesn't matter how many galleys you build or how many you intend to build, we are going to be outnumbered heavily by the Ottomans and the Ottoman alliance. We're going to be outnumbered. They'll sometimes have 2 times as many galleys as you, but you can win, and the way you win is by using a bit of cunning and strategy, and I'm going to be showing you all about that when we declare war and explain the thought process that's gone into this guide and how you can reliably beat the Ottomans in the early game, because there's no point winning through as a result of fluke. You need a consistent strategy in order to be able to win. So we dismissed our diplomatic reputation advisor. We don't need him anymore. He's a unnecessary expense that we can't afford. We need all that money for building more and more galleys. It's up to your discretion, up to your preference how many galleys you want to build. Now this is a useful event. This will help us increase fort defense and morale of armies. It's not huge. It probably doesn't make up for the fact that we lost 1 stability in the opening phase of the game, but such is the way this game runs. We're getting a lot of positive events though, so I can't really complain. So it's up to your preference how many galleys you want to build. I usually aim to have a fleet of about 28-29 ships, with the overwhelming majority of those being galleys. You can opt for more, but I don't think you can really get away with less. I think I was cutting it quite thin in this guide and using the bare minimum of what I would need. So that's a decision you're going to have to make for yourself. I recommend a fully fledged fleet of about 28 or 29 ships, and I'm slowly massing them in Constantinople and preparing for the ultimate phase, is when we declare war on the Ottomans. Now, when we declare war on the Ottomans, we will not be able to pull in Austria and Poland as allies. So you may be wondering, well, why bother improving our relations with them and forming alliances with them at all? Because at this stage in the game, what you're watching now, the Ottomans very often attack you, especially if you start going up to a parity with them and naval dominance. They really like to attack you then. So we need these alliances. This is a critical phase. You can see here they just declared war on an Eastern Muslim faction. You can be fairly guaranteed that that would have been me on the receiving end of their sword had I not those alliances with Austria and Poland. So it buys us time. We're going to have to do all the fighting ourselves, and as you're going to see, Ottomans like to ally Tunisia and the Golden Horde, and that means not only are we, small Byzantium, we're going to be fighting the Ottomans, but we're going to be fighting the Tunisians, who are going to come over in their ships, and we're going to fight the Golden Horde, who will send in their waves and waves of cavalry. But don't despair, there are strategies for getting past and circumventing these problems and ultimately prevailing, and that's what I'm going to show you. So we've got 3 more galleys in production, and then that should do us. We have 22 galleys in total. We'll bring that up to 25. 1 bark and 3 transport ships. You can see the Ottoman fleet is absolutely massive. They still outnumber us in galleys easily, but we can get around that by using economy of force, by ensuring we get good engagements with our navy. So we're going to continue massing up our fleet. Something very important I didn't mention, you absolutely need to hire an admiral. You can't get by without one, and you're going to want a good admiral, so don't be afraid to waste 100, 150 diplomatic points just to get those extra shock and fire modifiers for your fleet, because this strategy guide revolves around securing naval superiority in the Strait of the Bosphorus, the only crossing point between Europe and Asia that's nearby. And so in order to hold that strait, we need to win some naval battles and ensure we maintain naval superiority. So we declare war, pick the right time, pick off 2 Ottoman galleys from the outset. That's what you want to see. Combine overwhelming forces and local superiority to achieve quick and easy victories. And from this point on, now that we're fighting, we're going to move our 7,000 troops over to Epirus. We picked off another fleet here from the Ottomans. I'm going to use our entire fleet. We have to be quick. We can't afford to fight large-scale naval engagements, because if we do, they'll cross over in the Strait of Bosphorus. That's the sea between Constantinople and Bigger. So we're going to move our army over, immediately start sieging and looting. We're going to need to loot the provinces to sustain our income. So our fleet's back where it should be, the Sea of Marmon, or the Strait of Bosphorus as I call it. And we see there's a fleet up north in the Gulf of Varna. We're going to leave 1 galley to secure the Strait of Bosphorus, making sure that the Ottomans can't sneak any troops over, and try and defeat that fleet with ours. Now you can see there's still Ottoman ships sprawling all over the place in the Ionian Sea. If the Ottomans combined all their fleets into one, we wouldn't stand a chance. But we're going to be fairly aggressive, go on the offense, and picket the divided Ottoman ships and attack them fairly aggressively to ensure that they can never mass up a sufficiently large enough fleet to just crush us. And there's the Tunisian allies moving through the Aegean Sea in the Strait of Bosphorus. We're going to send our single galley holding the strait to Constantinople to ensure it's not picked off by the Tunisian ships. Now, we're going to need to resecure the Strait of Bosphorus immediately, because the Ottomans will capitalize on any opportunity to send forces over that strait and into their European holdings. And if they do that, if they can get 10 or 11,000 troops across, they can wipe out our forces with absolute ease. So we have to hold that strait. So we sent in 1 galley to fight 5 Tunisian warships, and the only function of that is a delaying action. We need to keep that strait contested for our reinforcements to arrive for our galleys. And we've just got our troops sort of rampaging around Greece and the Balkans, looting provinces, and we're going to establish a carpet siege of the Ottomans' entire European holdings. And we reinforced that galley in the Strait of Bosphorus, and now we can eliminate those Tunisian ships. Now, as you can see here, the Tunisians are launching amphibious assaults on southern Greece. There's nothing we can do about that yet, but it's going to be a huge challenge, of course. You don't want 5,000 Tunisian troops rampaging around Greece, but it's just something we're going to have to deal with for the meantime. We got bigger fish to fry. The most critical thing about this phase of the game is ensuring we have naval superiority. We can't afford to lose any ships. We certainly can't afford to lose any naval battles. We absolutely have to keep the Strait of Bosphorus locked down to ensure that the Ottomans can't reinforce their European holdings. And we have to pick our engagements. We can't just go rampaging to the Ottoman fleet because it's vastly superior numbers to ours. That's not even counting when you add the 13 or so Tunisian galleys that they can bring to bear. So we're just playing it safe, trying to pick off Ottoman fleets, ensuring that our army in Greece doesn't get wiped out. And we're going to attack the Tunisian force sieging Athens with our Greek allies, with our vassal state. And we have superior numbers of infantry, so we're fairly confident we're going to win this battle. We've seen another opportunity to attack an Ottoman fleet. There's 12 ships in their own in the Aegean Sea. Now we paused because you cannot afford to be profligate with your fleet. You have to ensure you don't lose any ships in disastrous naval battles, so we have to come to determination as to whether or not we can attack that fleet while preventing the Ottomans from reinforcing. And we decide we can't because the Ottoman fleet was in the Sea of Crete, and there you see it in the Ionian Sea, and they're sort of rallying up there around the Sea of Crete. And if we engaged the entire Ottoman fleet at this phase, I'm fairly confident we would lose. And if we lost, we would lose control of the Strait of Bosphorus, and Ottoman troops would come pouring over into Europe. So this whole strategy revolves around holding that strait, preventing the Ottomans from crossing. I mean, we only have 7,000 troops for this guide. We'll never exceed that. In fact, I think we might at one stage, but not for long, because we can't afford to go over our land force limits. It's simply too expensive and it's going to require us to take too many loans. So the Tunisians are reinforcing again. They like to do this. They send over little groups of 4,000 or 5,000 men. It's going to be quite a nuisance, but don't worry about it too much. The real battle is ensuring naval superiority, and that's what we're focusing on. Again, you can see the Tunisian fleet has happened to sort of coalesce with the Ottoman fleets, and they still have 39 galleys. The Ottoman alliance, 39 galleys to our 25. So if they grouped up their entire fleet and attacked us in the Strait of Bosphorus, we would be absolutely crushed. But as it happens, they tend not to like to be overly aggressive. I don't exactly know why. I guess it's because the AI prioritizes against offensive action in naval battles. They prefer to have overwhelming numbers before they attack. But they can attack, and they will. When Tunisia is done sending their troops into the south of Greece, they very often move into the Strait of Bosphorus and attack our fleet. And when they do that, that'll trigger the Ottomans to send aid. So it's not sufficient enough to hold the strait. We have to go out, and we have to try and pick off Ottoman and Tunisian fleets when they're on their own. And you can see there I'm just maneuvering now, moving my fleet from the Sea of Crete to the Ionian Sea. We eliminated the Tunisian army in southern Greece for the second time. Now here's something that's interesting. We've got some troops, I believe that's Ryazan, moving to the south. I'm going to have some more troops moving south shortly, but I'll show you that when it happens. A few funny things happen in this playthrough, as they will often do. So we've identified a few Ottoman galleys and a few barks that we can attack. We've eliminated them. That's 11 ships destroyed, including 9 galleys. So we're still outnumbered heavily. And you can also see we left a galley to hold the Strait of Bosphorus. And that's triggered the Ottomans to attack that strait with the rest of their fleet. So we've simply retreated our galley. It's done its job. It held the strait long enough to ensure that the Ottomans could sneak an army across into Europe. And now we have to return the bulk of our fleet to that strait to ensure that we don't come under attack. We're sieging Thessaly and Epirus. Decided to build one more additional galley. And you can see the Golden Horde streaming across. But they have the Black Flag modifier with them, which means that at some point, when the war was probably declared, they were in allied or neutral territory, and that means they can't attack us, which is very unfortunate. The upside is that the Golden Horde can't reach us anyway, so if it wasn't for the coincidence that they happened to have the Black Flag and the outbreak of war, then they wouldn't be able to get to us anyway. So this is just sort of like a pointless aesthetic diversion. Don't worry about it too much. You won't find the Golden Hordes coming to Constantinople when you declare war on the Ottomans. If you do, they're going to have the Black Flag modifier, because there's no other way they can get to you. So don't worry too much about that. I just thought it was a little funny. And as a result of this wee kink in the AI, we're going to see 21,000 Golden Horde troops sort of parking outside Athens for the remainder of this guide, but they're not actually going to do anything, just like the Ryazan troops in Constantinople, so just a pointless aesthetic diversion. Now we're repairing our ships in Constantinople. We need to do that. We need to find opportunities to repair, and ensuring we hold the strait with just one ship so that the Ottomans can't sneak across, because they sure would love to, and if they do, it's game over effectively. You can see their fleet here, then it's in the eastern Black Sea. That represents the problem because we don't have vision of that location, so they can kind of sneak out at any time and sort of cause havoc, and that means we can't stray too far away from the Strait of Bosphorus. Making sure all our ships are repaired, and the Tunisians are going to land again. Now this is one of the tactical decisions you have to make. Could we interrupt that landing? Could we interrupt that amphibious landing? Well, we're going to see. If we lose control of the strait, the Ottomans might stream across, but by the same token, if we keep letting the Tunisian troops land, that's going to be a serious diversion, and they could reach a critical mass where we're no longer able to stop them. Okay, so the Ottomans, sensing weakness, tried to attack. after our fleet moved to the Aegean Sea, but we simply returned and attacked their small fleet and destroyed it. We're also taking this opportunity to attack their other small fleet that they were moving through the Gulf of Varna. And the downside of that means that the Tunisians are going to get across to Achaea, but like I say, when it comes to prioritization, prioritize smashing the Ottoman fleet. Do not prioritize disrupting the Tunisian amphibious assaults in the south of Greece. It's a problem, it's a pain, but it's manageable. They're still only at 6,000 troops now. What we can't deal with is any Ottomans streaming across the Bosphorus. And we're still using our fleet to isolate enemy galleys and destroy them, slowly building up our naval superiority. Ultimately, we want to get to the stage where we've crushed both the Tunisian and Ottoman navy and we can start carpet blockading the Greek provinces and speed up our sieges. For now though, the priority, the focus remains holding the Sea of Marmara. Just sieging Epirus and Thessaly. Now the Tunisians, like I said, once the Tunisians are done dumping their troops into southern Greece, they like to attack your fleet, and at that stage, if you haven't destroyed enough Ottoman ships, you can be simply overwhelmed. So we're going to come to a determination that we need to stop the Tunisians from joining with the Ottoman fleet. It's still a huge threat. And we're going to make a calculation to see whether or not we can catch them. They're going to leave to the Sea of Crete on the 4th of June. We'll leave 2 damaged ships behind to hold the strait and see if we can capture the Tunisian fleet. We decide we can't, so we retreat. Nothing lost, just a few more troops that the Tunisians were able to dump in Greece. It's not a problem at all though. So you can see sort of the principles of this strategy guide. I explained the opening, and right now, hold the strait, carpet siege Ottoman provinces. Another thing I should have mentioned is that we picked a very important strategic time to declare war on the Ottomans. You need to declare war on the Ottomans when their troops are in the east. You obviously can't afford to declare war on them when their troops are rampaging around Greece or the Balkans. Wait for them to attack the Eastern Muslim factions, then use the opportunity to declare war on them when you know they have no troops in Europe. The whole point of this strategy guide is cutting off all the Ottoman troops in Anatolia, which we've successfully done. I'm going to hire some more troops just to speed up our efforts of sieging the Ottoman provinces. Getting a bit concerned by the amount of Tunisian troops in Achaea right now. They have 7,000. They're very strong troops because they're Muslim troops, and they've also broken down our walls, so they're at the stage where the siege of Achaea is going to be coming to its conclusion. But we're not worried about that. We're just worried about maintaining naval superiority and, if possible, completing some of our sieges of the Greek provinces. Don't worry about taking loans, take as many as you need. Just ensure that you keep your fleet strong. Now we're going to see if we can intercept this Tunisian fleet, because we really don't want 1,000 extra troops moving to Achaea. If we had 8,000 Tunisian troops in Achaea, that would be a huge threat. Now the Ottomans immediately pick up on our fleet movement. We left 1 ship in the Strait of Bosphorus to prevent any sneak Ottoman troops getting across. Departing the rest of our fleet caused the Ottomans to sort of move their ships about. So we caught 10 of them, and this is excellent for us. We just completed our mission, improved prestige, that's free stability. Of course we lost that stability at the start of the game, thanks to another comet. So that's another Ottoman fleet eliminated, 10 galleys destroyed. We're getting to the stage where we're pretty confident about a naval superiority. And it's at this stage that you want to think about destroying the Tunisian fleet, because realistically the Ottomans can't really challenge our naval superiority anymore. Just repairing our fleet right now. Still an Ottoman fleet in the Gulf of Varna. We're going to see if we can eliminate that. So you can see the strategy sort of forming shape and what it is you need to do. It's year 1451. We still haven't successfully sieged a single Ottoman province, but we're building up that naval superiority that's so critical. Another 6 Ottoman galleys destroyed. We're going to scout the eastern Black Sea to see if there's any remaining Ottoman ships in Anatolia. And if there aren't, then we can start going in the offense, trying to eliminate the Tunisian fleet, preventing them from reinforcing their existing troops in Greece. And you can see the siege of Achaea's just completed there, so we're worried about a Tunisian counterattack over the land. They're hanging tight for the moment, but this is a huge problem. The Tunisian fleet's coming once again to reinforce 8,000 troops with another 1,000. They're reaching the critical mass where we won't be able to deal with them. So unfortunately we have to abandon our attempts to siege the Ottoman provinces and ensure that the Tunisians can't mass up and eliminate our small sieging forces. So we've crushed the Ottoman fleet, leave one ship to hold the Strait of Bosphorus, and we're going to once and for all eliminate this Tunisian fleet that's been such a pain in our sides. We can destroy that, we can prevent the Tunisians from reinforcing in the European provinces. And we've totally crushed it, including their 6 transports. So we've effectively won complete blanket superiority of the seas. We're not out of the woods yet though, because as you can see the Tunisians have been able to build up a not insignificant military force in Greece, and at some point that's going to have to be eliminated. I think that's the Ottomans sending in their last available ship. They really want to secure superiority over the Sea of Marmara, if just for a few months, because that's all it would need to get their tens of thousands of Ottoman troops across that strait. I'd like to point out that we have no advisors at the moment, well over 15 loans, so our economy and our technology is going to be in bad shape, but these are the type of sacrifices you have to make in order to secure a strong start as the Byzantines. No expenses spared. 4 galleys should be enough to hold the strait. You can see there we're all alone in this war, little Byzantium against 4 powers, the Ottomans and the Golden Horde being major powers, but we're winning, we are winning. If it's not already clear by now, we are certainly winning this war. We've completed 2 sieges with more on the way. We've totally eradicated the Ottoman and Tunisian fleets, all 50 galleys I think they started with. So also another thing that should be obvious, we haven't particularly benefited from any incredibly lucky events. It's not like the Ottomans chose to attack us, where we could call in Austria and Poland, which would be much easier. No, this strategy, I said it wasn't elegant, but it works, it's effective, and it's a reliable strategy, and you can count upon this working over and over again if you do it right. Now, this is unfortunate. The Tunisians had camped so long in Achaea that I became complacent and assumed they wouldn't attack me, but they have. So I muster up all my troops to try and reinforce. And I do so very sloppily. And I'm getting absolutely murdered here, but I don't really care. Like I say, I'm not really that interested in what happens on land. It's all about the seas. So we're going to retreat what's left of our battered army. We have enough manpower, we haven't really fought any major battles. It's going to delay us, but it's not a problem. A few loans will do the trick. We don't even feel we need mercenaries at the moment, so we'll just hire more Eastern medieval infantry. It's not a hard strategy guide. It works reliably, it's consistent, but as I've shown you, you do need to make some tactical decisions. So for instance, you have to control your fleet well, you have to have good naval awareness, be aware of where the Ottoman fleet is and when, and be aware of the Tunisian fleet reinforcing with amphibious troops. And you have to capitalize on any opportunity to defeat the weakened Ottoman fleet. So anytime they break up their fleet, you've got to go after them aggressively, provided you can keep the Sea of Marmara locked down to Ottoman reinforcements. That's the focus. If you lose naval superiority over that strait for a month, you can lose the war. You cannot deal with any amount of Ottoman troops, especially since the Tunisians are going to be launching constant amphibious assaults. So they have 7,000 troops in Thessaly, not really worried about that. We've mustered up a sufficient army together with our Greek allies, the only ally we have in this war because it's our vassal. Still taking loans. Checking river crossings. We notice that there's not a river crossing between Athens and Thessaly, so why not maneuver our army around in a flanking mission to ensure that we don't get any negative offensive terrain modifiers. Something you should always endeavour to do. No point taking river crossings when you don't need to. Always look for an alternative. We're winning this battle easily. Going to pursue the Tunisian army and stack wipe it. Now it's in Ottoman territory, so it's not going to retreat for long. Yeah, usually one province, and it's been wiped out because it's nowhere to retreat to. It's in Allied territory, far away from its own. So that's effectively ended the war. Even though we've only occupied 2 provinces, and one of our provinces ourselves is occupied, what you'll notice is we've wiped out the entire Ottoman fleet. We've now wiped out the only land threat that we faced, the Tunisian army, and of course we've wiped out the Tunisian fleet. So from this point on, this guide effectively becomes a mopping up operation. We didn't screw up because we didn't lose naval superiority over the Sea of Marmara. We've held it over the entire course of this war, and when we've had to move our main fleet out, we've always made sure we have a galley occupying the space to prevent the Ottomans from coming across. And in the event the Ottomans move to attack that single galley, we just send it back to Constantinople. Keep it in dock. And if it's an emergency, we can send it out to shut down the strait to delay any Ottoman troops from coming across. Checking our revolt risk. Golden Horde army still in Athens, all 21,000 troops, magnanimously standing by and watching the carnage. Always good to get more military power. Now's probably a good time to talk about war goals. It's entirely up to you what you want to achieve out of this first war. I personally recommend going after all the Byzantine cores immediately, and then opting for something like war reparations in the Ottoman treasury, just to ensure you can pay back some of the egregious amount of loans we accrued at the start of this guide to pay for our massive galley fleet. It'll also be a nice start-up fund to sort of maybe hire some advisors or build a trade ship or something in the future. But for now we're just focused on our objectives. Improving relations with Mamelukes. The reason why we're doing that is because we got a mission to improve our relations with Mamelukes, I believe a rival of our rival mission, but then we realised that we can't get the 25 diplomatic power as a reward because We can't go over 125 relations with Mamelukes without sending them a gift. So we're going to cancel that mission, hope for something a little better. Edirne, Ottoman capital's fallen to us, so is the siege of Thessaly. It's now over, and you're starting to see the end result of his strategy guide. We fought very few land battles, but we've won every single naval battle, and I don't think we've lost any ships at all. And the reason why is we've combined local superiority, or economy of forces I like to call it. Take overwhelming numbers, attack the Ottoman fleet when it's at its weakest, when it's split up, crush it utterly, and then move on to the next Ottoman fleet. Always avoid major pitch battles if you can, major set piece engagements. Always try and attack the enemy where they're at their weakest. Slowly ticking up the war score. Ships in the Aegean Sea, blockading as many Ottoman ports as possible. Two mercantilism, always better than a little bit of military power. Mercantilism is an extremely valuable asset in the late game. Significantly boosts your trade power. Your provincial trade power modifier, I believe that is. And will help you dominate the trade lanes in the late game. Still sadly no good missions to choose from, but we'll be very content if we can defeat the Ottomans. This guide, part of the reason why I've elected to show this guide, not another one, is this guide is very reliable and consistent, as I've already mentioned. You can win reliably using the strategy guide I sort of proposed here. It is effective, it does work. It requires you to do something, but not much. You just have to keep an eye on that Strait of Bosphorus, and you have to sort of aggressively attack the Ottoman and Tunisian fleet without sacrificing the strait. And you can do that. Might take a bit of time and practice, but it's very doable. Like, I don't think you can win simply by sitting in the Sea of Marmara with your ships. Eventually, the Tunisians and Ottomans will mass and attack you and totally crush your fleet. So the question is, why would you let them mass up? You shouldn't. You should attack them when they're weak and force them out of position. And keep the Tunisian fleets and the Ottoman fleets from massing up like they like to. In the early game, Tunisia will focus on dropping off those troops in the amphibious assaults that you saw. But once they've completed that, they'll try and go after your ships. And if they do, the Ottomans will be sure to come to their aid. So again, avoid the possibility of their fleets massing up, because like I said from this guide, they outnumber you 2-to-1 in galleys, even in the best of circumstances. You cannot compete with that. Your ships aren't better than the Ottomans, they are exactly identical. You may get lucky and get a better admiral, but for the most part you're focused on attacking the Ottoman ships when they're split up. We're very eager to get some war reparations and money. Aside from that, we want the Byzantine cause in Greece, all the cause in Europe. And we can get that, that's going to put us in an extremely strong position. Without any provinces to core, we're going to be floating in administrative points. That's going to allow us to pick our first idea, which I usually recommend you opt for humanism or innovative. Our king died. Our better king's taken over and we've got a decent heir. Although the heir's age is 40, unfortunately, but there's not much we can do about that. I'm starting to nervously look at our war exhaustion. It is very high. 10 war. I always consider anything over 10 war exhaustion to be fairly high, but not to worry. They're being stubborn. They don't want to accept the peace terms we've offered them, so we're going to have to complete a couple more sieges. And just waiting now. Siege of Sofia, maybe that'll do it. Well, we have 2 more sieges that should be imminently resolved in Silistria and Tarnova, so we'll hold out for a bit longer, make sure we get the best peace deal possible. Renew our royal marriages with Austria and Poland. Again, strategy was fairly simple, building lots of galleys, but the execution's a little more difficult. That's the thing you're going to have to learn how to master. This is a reliable strategy. This can be done again and again and again using the exact same methods disclosed in this video. 104 gold and war reparations. Yeah, we'll take it. It's good enough. Well, that's it, folks. Those are the objectives I'd aim for. Restoring the Byzantine cause, war reparations, and a bit of money. That'll allow us to pay off some of our loans and put us in a much stronger position. This guide does work. I've tested it numerous times. It's good for patch 1.92. It's extremely reliable. It doesn't require much army control. It does require a lot of naval control. Requires you to be conservative with your navy and hold the strait. But if you can manage that, you can pick off the small Ottoman fleets and wipe them out without suffering casualties. Then it's fairly straightforward, clean sailing from then on out. Checking some of the results of the conflict. Well over 10 war exhaustion. 33 ships. But no, we're fairly happy with it. So that's it, folks. I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed this guide. And what's more, I hope it works for you. I've tried my best to explain all the ins and outs and nuances of this guide, but inevitably I end up missing things, so if you have any questions, you can easily leave comments. Right, I'm Oscar Mike, and I hope you enjoy watching. Good luck with your Byzantine starts. This is good for patch 1.92 on which it was played.